Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Gonzo Tonight Show. Today is a very special day for me because, as you can see, we have the new merch in. Here's what the shirt looks like. Let me move the mic out of the way here. Alright. So that's what it looks like. Pictures right here. And we started selling these last week. This is the first time I'm wearing it in person. And this one is a little big, I think. So we're going to make it a little smaller, make the logo smaller. But also it's because I'm a smaller person, so it's going to appear larger on the shirt. I have a bunch of bigger shirts over here, and the logo looks pretty much perfect, so we're going to change that a little bit. But that's basically what it looks like. You can go to the website. Website's right here or in the description. It is teespring.com/stores/Gonzo Tonight. Again, it's going to be in the description, so you can easily go and click on it there. You can use the discount code YouTube, all one word. That'll get you 20% off. Offers valid until November 14th, so get it before then. And we're also doing a giveaway with one of these shirts. It's going to be the premium fabric, so it's going to be a lot softer and a lot more high quality than this one is. This is the basic regular cotton shirt. We have the premium as well, and we're going to be giving one of those away. In order to enter the giveaway, go to buymeacoffee.com/gonzo, donate a coffee, and each coffee equals 5 entries. Each coffee equals 5 entries, so that will give you 5 entries into the giveaway. And by the 14th, when the discount code ends, around that same time, we will announce a winner. So that's about 12 days from now, and you'll be able to win. One of you will win one of our shirts here. So that's the first piece of news. And I've talked about this before, but if you are interested in starting a podcast, I highly recommend Buzzsprout. We work with Buzzsprout, and they've been fantastic. And all you got to do really is grab some gear that you already have, whether it's your phone, camera, audio, headset, microphone, whatever you have, and go to a quiet room, start talking, do whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about, whether it's politics, whether it's film, whether it's, storytelling. I've seen a lot of different stuff, a lot of different podcasts. I know a guy that does a podcast on reviewing movies. It's a pretty good podcast. And if you want to upgrade your gear at any point, Buzzsprout recommends the gear that you can go get. A lot of their recommendations are pretty good. I've looked into it. And they get your show, Buzzsprout, they get your podcast listed everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all the podcast apps. You'll be able to find your podcast on there. I think the longest one was 2 weeks for me. That was iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts took 2 weeks. Spotify was day one, already on there. And your website, the podcast website looks great. Buzzsprout does a very great job with that. You have your own website. They give you little, what are they called? Audio players that you can put on other websites. Like, so if you have another website for a business or whatever, you can put your podcast in there for people to listen to. And they have analytics that can show you where your viewers are coming from, all that stuff. And they're very passionate about helping you succeed. I have no complaints about Buzzsprout. They're absolutely fantastic. And there's a link in the description. If you click on it and sign up for one of their paid plans, you get a $20 Amazon gift card, and that helps our show as well. So go look at the link below, check out Buzzsprout, consider joining them if you want to do a podcast. I highly recommend them. Lastly, this episode is sponsored by Gonzalez Law Firm. Personal injury requires personal attention. Gonzalez Law Firm is located in Heathrow, Florida, and they specialize in personal injury law, disability, immigration, and bankruptcy. They also do sports management for those high class football players, soccer players, whatever sport you do. They'll help you get representation. Go to gonzaleslawfirm.com, find out how they can help you. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about my predictions for what's going to happen election night. And then we're going to talk about potential repercussions because of the results. We're talking about 79 days from election night until inauguration day. What's going to happen in those 79 days, as well as what may happen after inauguration day. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right. Election night. I'm recording this Monday, November 2nd. Election night is tomorrow. I'm releasing this Tuesday morning, Tuesday, November 3rd. This is being released. So before the election starts, before the results come in and everything like that, is when this is being released. So this is my prediction of what's going to happen on election night, as well as what will happen in the events afterwards. First and foremost, many of you know that I support Trump. If you know anything about me personally, you know that I support Trump. That being said, there's a lot of Trump supporters that don't necessarily believe he will win. I think more this election than 2016, people are more confident. But here's what I think is going to happen. I think that Donald Trump will win by a significant margin. Much like 2016, probably, I would say more. He would get more electoral votes than he did in 2016. I think I recently predicted, I released a electoral college prediction. I want to say I gave him 328 electoral votes against Biden. And, here we go, right here. 338. However, I think it could, no one knows what's going to happen. I think he could get more, or he could get less. But I think, because I gave, in this prediction that I did, I still gave Joe Biden in New York and California. Both those states, if you really look into it, you're not going to hear this anywhere else. But those states are really in play this year. You see these huge rallies in California, in Beverly Hills, and in the LA area. Huge Trump rallies that you would never see with any other Republican candidate ever. It's insane. And these aren't like Trump rally. Like, these aren't rallies that Donald Trump goes to. These are Trump supporters organizing their own rally, their own march, their own whatever. And it's crazy stuff we're seeing now. And then mainstream media is talking about Texas is in play for Biden, that he could possibly flip Texas this election. And there's no way it's going to happen, in my opinion. I think that, honestly, and this is a bold statement, but California, I believe, is more likely to flip red than Texas is to flip blue in this election. If everything goes fair and there's no voter fraud. I think that Texas, though, would be tough on voter fraud. Florida, my home state, I think it would be very minimal fraud. The states you have to worry about are more liberal states that don't have strict voting regulations. And we should be seeing a big landslide for Trump. That's my prediction. However, when it comes time for him to give his speech that he won, the results are in, and basically it's very safe to say that he won. I think before then, what we could see this and these predictions you hear from me are going to be stuff that you've never maybe even thought of, and it may seem very outlandish, but I believe that tomorrow night, aka tonight, when you're seeing this on Tuesday night, the night of the election, Donald Trump is going to win. It's going to be clear that he won. However, we're going to see mainstream media and big tech try to silence the fact that he won. Now, obviously, people can find out on the internet, whatever, but I think that in order to confuse people, big tech, mainstream media is going to try and silence and cover up the fact that he won just to confuse people, because I think there's no way they could absolutely. I mean, you never know these days. Big tech has been silencing specific accounts, right-leaning accounts, conservative accounts for so long, especially since Trump got elected. And more recently, we're seeing a lot of accounts getting banned, deleted, muted, shadow banned, whatever you want to call it. And on Facebook, the Woman for Trump account in Arizona, I believe, was deleted off of Facebook. And there was no reason why. I've talked about this before. The New York Post was silenced on Twitter. Their account was locked. They couldn't get back in for 2 weeks. I looked into it only a few days ago where they allowed back into their account. They were out for 2 weeks, thanks to Jack Dorsey and his mob gang over there. But I believe that big tech on social media is going to try and silence what's going on. Block, shadow ban posts about Trump winning. The mainstream media is going to do their best to manipulate the narrative and say that Biden is still able to win. They're going to definitely be talking about waiting for mail-in ballots to be counted. They're going to basically do whatever they can to make it seem like Biden still has a shot. And the Dems basically, after election night, after Trump does his speech saying that he won, they're going to do everything they can to continue to manipulate the narrative and say that Trump announced too early that there's more votes coming in, that he's not going to win. It's actually Biden that won. Stuff like that. It's going to be some crazy stuff that they're saying, and stuff that's obviously not true if you're really paying attention, and if you have half a brain. You'll be seeing all these votes coming in for Trump, and then they'll be trying to confuse everyone and tell everyone that that's not what's happening. And it's going to be a pretty crazy night, I think. And the days after are going to be crazy. You look at shops and businesses in Washington, D.C., they are already, I think like a day or two ago, they started boarding up the businesses with like wood, and they're closed. They're boarded up because they know what's coming election night and the days after. They know that Trump has a very good chance of winning, despite what the media is saying. And all the businesses are boarded up, shut down. They're protecting themselves because they know that on election night and after election night, there's going to be chaos in the streets, like in Portland and in DC and in LA and Minneapolis. Those cities, those big cities that have had Black Lives Matter riots for months now, those cities are going to be trashed and filled with protests and riots, and it's going to be crazy because those people have been convinced and will be convinced that Trump again has gotten elected by cheating, by voter fraud, that he's suppressing Democrat votes, whatever. They're going to bring back up the whole Russiagate thing that they made up last election. They're going to do something like that. And it's going to be crazy in these big cities. And the Dems, Black Lives Matter, Antifa, basically Antifa is really what these riots are. Antifa has taken over Black Lives Matter and all these other protests, these left-leaning protests. But Antifa is going to continue, because they already started this. They are going to continue to encourage their supporters to go out and kill Trump supporters, which they have been doing. Look it up. You can find videos of Antifa, members of Antifa slash Black Lives Matter, shooting and killing Trump supporters, strictly because of Trump supporters. There was no justifiable reason for them to be killed. This will continue in places like Portland, Minneapolis, maybe DC, and anyone that's not aligned with Antifa, the left, the Democrats, they're going to become a target in the weeks and months following the election. I mean, I would like to say that the riots won't last too long, but we've seen with Black Lives Matter since June, they've had riots in some cities every night. And they've had riots, all over the country almost consistently since June. And who knows what's going to happen. But it's going to get bad in some places. There's going to be major civil unrest. Most likely firefights, people shooting each other. I believe that we will see something like this. Big civil unrest. At some point, it's going to get so bad, I think that the president will have to bring in the National Guard or some sort of force, because it would just get so out of hand, more out of hand than it has been in the past, at least in regards to people's safety. The left is going to try and, in their cities where they're still in power, gain control of the cops. And when there are cities with major civil discourse, they're going to try and target the right-wing Trump supporters and kind of avoid targeting Antifa and the left. So we'll see civil discourse between both sides, and the police are going to come. And if this is happening in a place like Portland, we'll see police maybe take the side of the left more than the right. Regardless, it's going to be chaos everywhere, but major chaos. And what you'll see in the midst of all this craziness and in the weeks coming after, you're going to see a lot of major Democrat players, a lot of Democrat politicians kind of disappear, and you'll see a lot less of them. People you see now, obviously, Joe Biden, as soon as the election's over, Joe Biden is like disappearing from the mainstream media. You're not going to see him. Clinton, not going to see her. Obama, not going to see them. Kamala, no. These people are going to, maybe at first they'll be trying to, coming out and giving speeches maybe, or coming out on TV and telling people, to fight back and fight back against this tyranny. They're going to, be trying to rile up their base, what's left of it. And, but shortly after, in the weeks to come, you'll see those people start disappearing. Nancy Pelosi, people that are tied to either the Hunter Biden scandal or the Epstein scandal. The people that Trump refers to as a swamp, those people, maybe even some Republican officials, honestly, it wouldn't surprise me. And they're going to start disappearing. They're going to be hiding from the public. Anyone tied to Pizzagate, the Clinton scandal, the Clinton Foundation, anything like that. Sometime afterwards now, the Chinese, other globalist nations are going to start leaking information about Joe Biden, the Hunter Biden, the Clintons perhaps, the Obamas maybe. All these investigations that have been going on without the public's knowledge, stuff's going to start coming out because countries like the Chinese, other big globalist countries, they have dirt on the Bidens, the Clintons, the Obamas, big players on the Democratic side, and even some of the Republicans, of course. Um, Stuff's going to start coming out for the Democrats because the Democrats have now failed to take control of their country. And you might be wondering, well, what's the big deal? The Democrats recently, it's quite obvious that they're like the America's globalist party. They are aligned with the globalists. The globalists want world domination. They don't want America to be a superpower. They want to be in control of the whole world. And Trump is a threat to the globalist agenda. What's worse for them is Republicans are going to keep the Senate, possibly get more seats. They have now a big majority in the Supreme Court, but I believe, too, on election night, they're going to flip the House. They're going to take the House. So they will have the Senate, the House, Judiciary, and the presidency. And this is really bad for Democrats, really bad for anyone tied to the globalist agenda. And again, like I was saying, there's going to be a lot of stuff that's flooding out about scandals and the Bidens, especially with Hunter Biden. All this stuff's just going to come out. And it's going to be a huge mess for these guys. Eventually, now, either before or after Inauguration Day, depending on how all this stuff plays out, arrests are going to start being made. The Bidens, Clintons, maybe the Obamas, anyone tied to Pizzagate, anyone tied to the Epstein scandal, anyone tied to Hunter Biden's mess, there's going to be a lot of arrests in the coming months. It's going to be a big mess. The next 79 days are going to be quite interesting. I can promise you that. We're going to see some crazy stuff. And 2020 has been a crazy year already. It's not over yet. But I'll tell you this, by 2021, it's going to get a lot better. Law and order is going to come back to this country. Having basically Capitol Hill being controlled by the Republicans, it's going to get the country back on track in regards to corruption. That's what this episode really is mainly about, is the corruption aspect of it. Because you can argue policy all day, but these people that are in charge, Republican and Democrat, right now, more specifically the Democrats, are a threat to our nation and our freedoms and civil liberties. They have concocted this pandemic, not the virus itself maybe, but this pandemic. They have used it to keep the American people inside their homes, wearing masks all the time, trapped. They're seeing who will be following whatever they say, basically. How much control do they have over the people? And then they have allowed these riots to take place. They have instigated these riots. They have been instigating people to go out and attack Trump supporters for a long time. There's videos of Maxine Waters, Cory Booker, all these guys encouraging violence. Nancy Pelosi. And the riots happened for months and months. And then once they realized it was hurting their election chances, they came out and they were like, oh, we need to be peaceful. We need to stop the rioting, even though they had been encouraging it for months and months. And, I mean, they're good. Yeah, it's basically, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought there. But there's going to be the arrests, and the Democratic Party, as we know it, is going to start disappearing. They're going to lose power. When they lose, they're going to lose some big players. They don't have the House anymore. They don't have anything, and the Democratic Party is going to start going underground, and they're going to have to try and figure out what their next move is. They're going to have to strategize what's going on, and all this is a result of corruption on the left. And not saying there's not corruption on the right, but the left has gotten so unhinged in the past 4 years that they have lost the trust of the people. The average American person has lost trust in the left and the Democratic Party. It has literally, this year alone has been crazy. People in states like Hawaii have been locked down since the beginning, mask mandate all the time. If you go to these states, if you fly to these states, you have to quarantine for a week or 2 weeks. Businesses are hurting. Lots of businesses and business owners are hurting, losing money. They're barely making ends meet. Some of them aren't even making ends meet. People I know personally, that's when it hurts the most, is when you know someone who has been hurting financially because of the lockdowns for a virus that has a 99.4% survival rate overall. It's just the way they've managed to manipulate this whole year into keeping people locked inside, keeping people in fear for their lives because of these riots, these protests, all this stuff with police brutality. Everyone, it's been fear mongering to the max coming from the left, and Trump is bringing in tens of thousands of people every day to multiple rallies a day because he is sharing a positive message, a message of hope that our best days are yet to come, while the Democrats are preaching doom and gloom and that their days are numbered, the best is behind us, and we got the world is gonna melt in 3 years, and that global warming is gonna kill us, and then that fascism is gonna kill us, and then all this stuff, and the virus is gonna kill us, whatever. Fear mongering. And what is Trump doing? Preaching a hopeful message, a message of there's always a better tomorrow. 4 more years of Trump will bring back economic prosperity, security. And that's why he's pulling in so many people to these rallies. He did 5 events yesterday, 5 rallies in 5 different states. I think Michigan, Iowa, Georgia, Florida. There was one other, North Carolina. 5 events. Pennsylvania had 50-something thousand people at a rally, as far as I know. 96 miles long in Arizona of Trump supporters, of cars and trucks and all that stuff with flags. 96 miles long. The silent majority that we saw in 2016 is still there, but there are now so many open supporters now. Trump had 9% of the black vote last year. I think he's going to get at least 25% of the black vote this year. Some are saying 40. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But the black vote is actually going to really, really help Trump this election. And if he has numbers above 20% of the black vote, and nothing else changes, he wins. And even some states that he didn't win last year. So we're seeing a landslide victory for Trump. That's the bottom line. Landslide victory for Trump. which is great for the American people. Unfortunately, there are some bad things that come with it, and it'll be the 79 days is going to be pretty bad, but it's not going to be for the average person. It's not going to affect them directly. I would hope it's not that bad, but I'm going to see a lot of mess, a lot of chaos. But after the 79 days, Trump's inaugurated. All that stuff's going to start going away. The Democratic Party is literally going to go underground. These are basically my predictions. Some of this could happen. None of this could happen. But that's what I believe we're going to see. To an extent, we're going to see stuff like this happening. And really all we can do now is wait and see. If you're watching this before the election, let's see what happens. If you're watching this after, how did I do? Let me know. Send me a message on Instagram at The Gonzo Tonight Show, Twitter, Gonzo Tonight Show. If you like what we do here, support the show at buymeacoffee.com/Gonzo. We appreciate all the support that you guys have given us so far. Thank you to all our new subscribers on YouTube. And, of course, the subscribers we get every day on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all that. And, of course, get some merch. teespring.com/stores/Gonzo Tonight. Links are in the description, in the show notes, wherever you're listening or watching. Again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.